By the end of the day, the whole country was examining not that, but whether Joe Biden is eligible to be president under the 25th Amendment because of his diminished mental faculties. Michelle, you and I were talking last night about how it was one of the most historic days that you could even imagine.
100%.
I don't know if we put it all together, if we can even understand the impact. But let's bring in Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles. Congressman, great to see you. Did you have any idea that yesterday was going to go down the way it went down? Did you know it was going to be such a historic day on so many sides of every argument that we're facing today?
Well, I mean, what we're seeing with Donald Trump is a persecution, not a prosecution, and that should be scary for you and I and everyone that has a conservative voice, because you have liberal district attorneys targeting a former president for political reasons. Mm-hmm. That didn't work in Rome. It's not going to work in this country. And I expect the Supreme Court, if not 8-1, 9-0, to affirm Trump's right to be on the ballot, because they understand the precedent that's going to be set. Now, when we talk about Joe Biden, holy cow, this guy's an idiot. I mean, literally, he gets up there and he doesn't know who's head of what state or what country's next to the other. I mean, Mexico, Egypt, Israel, how do you get those confused? But, the 25th Amendment, I think, is in order here. It should be, exercised. I think the Congress, that we should move quickly to impeach him, to send a message to the country that this president does not belong in the Oval Office.
And, there are talks that Joe Biden won't be on the ballot in November. Ultimately, what do you think is going to happen come November?
Well, to be honest with you, I think, and not to get, conspiratorial here, but several months ago, I put out on a Twitter, X, Twix, whatever you want to call it, that Michelle Obama was going to be their candidate. Ted Cruz did the same thing. And you start to look at his mental acumen, you look at his polling numbers, they can't win with Joe Biden, and they certainly don't want Kamala Harris. Yeah. And so what you're going to see here is they're going to do some sort of switcheroo at the convention, whether it's Gavin Newsom or Michelle Obama. It's not going to be Joe Biden. And I think yesterday was intentional. They set him up to fail. And I think it's going to play out. I mean, you have the left, they can't defend him anymore. I mean, the guy's lost his mind. He's clearly senile. And quite frankly, I put on, again, Twitter last night that his wife's guilty of elder abuse.
Yeah, I don't see how
this
that's
is ridiculous.
Not the case. Yeah,
100%.
If the situation were reversed and Donald Trump, God forbid, declined in office the way that Joe Biden has declined in office, they would be charging Melania all over the place. Yeah.
Or I'm a reasonably young guy. If I sat here and I'm like, you're talking about I need to gather my words and I had tacos in Ireland. I mean, you guys would, the media would be all over me. I mean, they would crucify me.
Congressman, we want to get back to you. Congressman Ogles from here in Tennessee. I want to talk to you about this bill that you have, because our audience is going to drink this like their morning coffee, or maybe a Bloody Mary, since we're here at Redneck Riviera. I want to talk to you about this. It's called Send Them Back Act. Tell us about it.
So it's quite simple. It's Send Them Back Act. And if you've come into this country illegally under the Joe Biden administration, you would be eligible, quite frankly, for expedited removal. So it's the largest deportation ever contemplated in American history. But we've got to own this narrative of this is our country. We get to decide who comes in, and quite frankly, we get to decide who has to leave. And, this idea of bring us your huddled masses, sure, under our terms, under our rules.
Yeah, legally. So tell me, though, how is that, I keep trying to picture this, because all I can remember is the kids in cages, which we all know was actually Obama, had nothing to do with Trump. They're still doing it, by the way, and no one's making a big deal out of it now that Trump is not there. So I'm just thinking the left is going to clutch on to every single element of this. How do you do this mass deportation?
Well, I mean, it's got to be done. Nobody said it's going to be easy. Look, if my family and I go to Disney World, actually we wouldn't go to Disney World because they're woke. If we went to Universal Studios and we were there illegally and they caught us, they're going to kick us out. And even if my 8-year-old son is crying, they're going to kick us out. This is our country. If we're in France illegally, they're going to kick us out. If we're in Mexico illegally, they're going to kick us out. So why are we held to some different standard? This is the United States of America. We're the sole superpower of this world. We get to decide how we're going to run this country. And I'll be damned if I'm going to listen to the left and bow down to their rules.
Yeah, we talk a lot about the 25th Amendment. You had brought it up earlier. Can you break that down and just how that can be used against Joe Biden, who has obviously contributed to this crisis at the border?
Well, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on the 25th Amendment. I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I'll say that.
We love that here.
There's 4 clauses in the 25th Amendment. The first has to do with if the president is killed. So in the case of Kennedy. The second clause of the 25th Amendment has to do with the vice president. And so you've had twice where that's been exercised, where the vice president's been replaced. And then the third clause has to do with the president needs a colonoscopy or something like that. That's been used 3 times, technically a fourth if you look at Reagan. But legally, it was only 3 times. Now, the fourth clause is what we're talking about of the 25th Amendment, where the vice president and the cabinet, or the vice president and the Congress, can kick Joe Biden out of office.
Here's my question. What would happen with Kamala in this situation? What do you think their plan is with her?
Well, I would be shocked. They don't want Kamala Harris to be president.
Right.
They don't want her to be the candidate. They're not going to invoke the 25th Amendment, although they have an obligation to at this point. And so they're going to preserve him. They're going to pump him full of chemicals and drugs to keep him alive. It's like remember the movie Weekend at Bernie's?
Yes.
I mean, when you start seeing him wearing the sunglasses, it's like it just happened. But they're not going to invoke the 25th Amendment because they want to put someone else like a Gavin Newsom, like a Whitmer, like Michelle Obama in the Oval Office.
We loved having you.
Well, thank you very much.
I hope you'll come back
Absolutely.
on the show. And we're going to have more after this break.